Hi, beautiful people. Thank you for checking in today. So, I have some information for you in preparation for Wednesday's Wellness Wednesday. People have been DMing me. I've been asking for you to DM me questions that you may have about health and wellness that you're interested in. And that is going to be our topic for the Wellness Wednesday. But I'm going to give you a little bit of overview information because I want to make sure that you have some baseline things so that when we dive in on Wednesday, it really, really hits home. So far, what's been winning is gut health. People have been asking about GI health, gut health, the whole nine. So we're going to focus on that for Wellness Wednesday. But I want to get you prepped before that. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and just go over a couple of concepts. This is a longer training. It's going to be more than the few 5 or 6 minutes. Hang on. I will later on put the time slots of where you can catch different pieces of what we're talking about. So you don't have to look through the whole presentation if you are short on time. All right, so with that, let me go ahead and share my screen. And what I want to share with you are some of the foundational pieces, key concepts that I want you to know that as we do this health and longevity group, what we're really putting in place are the key foundational pieces. When you have your foundations in check and they're good, solid, you're not wobbling. When one leg on a stool is missing and you try to sit on the stool, you're going to fall off. So, what we want to do is make sure we have all those foundations. So, we're going to go over key concepts that once you get them, you will never be confused about how to handle your health and wellness. You will know what's a credible source, what's not a credible source. You will know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You'll know when to stop using something, when to start using something, the whole nine. At the end of the day, remember, medicine is an art coupled with a science used with tradition. So a lot of it is still trial and error, no matter how much research and scientific foundations you have, there's still a lot of trial and error within the clinical aspects of putting a plan together. So keep that in mind. All right. Our goal is to work together as a team. This is what this group is for, to support you in finding what works for your body. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and I'll share the screen and be sure to post any questions that you might have as we go through this. So I think you can see my screen now. I'm going to make a big screen. So this is part one. We're going to go through the basics of functional nutrition. So as I mentioned, I'm a board certified registered dietitian. I've been in clinical practice for 21 years. I also have a master's in herbal medicine, and I have graduate studies in sustainable agriculture and food systems. And then I have additional training in functional nutrition and integrative health. So with that, I'm going to talk about why functional nutrition and this whole kind of integrative approach, why it works, what it is. I'll make sure that you have a copy of this presentation. I'm happy to give this presentation to any friends, family, churches, whoever. Okay. Our goal is it's 2023 and we no longer need the pharmaceutical industry and the insurance companies dictating whether or not we can get well. We just don't need it. We'll take their support, we'll use their support, to get us well. We'll use combinations, but we want to use everything that we have available to us. The way I was trained is anything that brings the healing is the medicine. Medicine does not have to be and is not just pharmaceuticals. We know that. Sometimes the medicine is just being like, letting go. I don't give a F anymore. And I'm not playing by these rules where I'm boxed in and I can no longer pull the healing to me. Okay. So what we're doing is pulling the healing to us, allowing any and everything that is healing for us to be the healing piece. So with that, let's dive in. So with functional nutrition, we really want to be looking at health as a full overview. It is really made up of all of these different pieces: diet, sleep, digestion, toxins, exercise, medication, supplements, genetics, hormones, stress. That makes up the health and wellness milieu. What we're going to be doing in this group over time is we're going to be tackling and going and deep diving into all these little pieces as we keep going, so you really get an understanding and you know what you need to focus on. But just looking at this, I have a wonderful clinicians that I work with and that I know that, they use this diagram and they really say, you know what, hey, pick out where you feel you need the most help right now. And I think it's just a wonderful way to kind of start off, but it's a great visual. But essentially, we take a biological systems-based approach to nutrition planning. We treat the root cause of illnesses because we look at the interactions between everything that you see in those bubbles and what's going on with you, your genetics, your environmental, your lifestyle approaches. And so we put all those things together and we create programming that's specific for you. It's not cookie cutter. We ask many questions. Why does the condition exist in the first place? What triggered it? What are the underlying imbalances that are driving it and preventing it from reversing or getting into remission? Because we really can reverse and get into remission so many things. What mediates and perpetuates the condition? What are we continuously eating or doing or not doing or being around or not being around that is not letting us get to that healing, right? So we use this integrative approach: mind, body, the whole thing. Again, anything that brings the healing is the medicine. That's the approach we're taking. So essentially, we're really looking at where all of these pieces converge in this center, right? So we're looking at the environmental inputs. What's going on with your diet, your nutrition, your exercise? Are there past traumas? Are there current traumas, emotional, physical, that need to be addressed? Are there, on this left-hand side, immune and inflammatory imbalances, gastrointestinal issues that might be causing problems? A lot of times, immune imbalances can cause gastrointestinal issues and vice versa. Gastrointestinal issues can cause immune imbalances. And so we want to clean that up and really make it work. We look at how well the structural integrity of the body's working, because all of that will affect whether we have oxidative stress over here and, difficulties with energy production. Our detoxification pathways will affect whether we have oxidative stress, vice versa. And same thing, our detoxification pathways will affect our hormones and neurotransmitters, and vice versa. They all work together. And then, of course, looking down at the bottom, our mind, our spirit, our emotions, our community will affect it. Can you imagine getting up every day, hearing the birds chirping, walking out, smelling the essential oils of flowers and plants and trees? Do you understand just the medicinal quality of having that feeling in your community? I mean, you're already starting out ahead of the game if you're able to get up like that. Birds chirping, you smell those essential oils. Those essential oils, they're antimicrobials. They're working in the moment, right? So we want to keep all that in mind. Now, imagine the reverse. You get up every morning and it's the total opposite. No essential oils from the environment, no trees, nothing. You're just not getting that input. And maybe you're getting things that actually cause trauma, loud noises, honking, congestion, smog, the whole nine. So we really want to look at all these pieces, and we're going to look at ways that every day we can make small little incremental changes in all of these areas to just be better, because it's possible. Now, this is a key concept that I really want you to understand, because this is a highly prized concept in functional medicine, functional nutrition. One condition can have many causes, and one cause can contribute to many conditions. So let's look at depression just on its own. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but I want you to get the concept. Someone could be diagnosed with depression, and when we start really looking at the root cause, and they may even be on antidepressants, and you may really need antidepressants for right now. Don't get off of them if you really need them for right now. But what we want to think about is, is there a way that I could potentially do better, be better, the whole nine? What's the cause of my depression? So these 5 things that you see around depression, these are all contributing factors to depression. This is not an exhaustive list, but let's just look. If you have an omega-3 fatty acid deficiency, you can end up with depression. And it is very easy to have an omega-3 fatty acid deficiency. If you don't eat cold water fish on a regular basis, and I mean literally getting like a therapeutic amount, about 3,000 milligrams of essential fatty acids daily, you potentially could have that issue, right? And so getting 3,000 milligrams is the equivalent of eating about, if you could imagine a can of sardines, that's about 1,200 milligrams of omega-3s. Okay, that's a can of sardines. When you get a essential fatty acid or omega-3 fish oil capsule, you typically, one of those gel caps is about 1,000 milligrams. A 3-ounce piece of cold water fish, salmon, cod, trout, those types of things are going to be about 1,000 milligrams. So my point, do you see where my point is? That's the therapeutic dose typically for omega-3s. And if you're not hitting that each day, do you see how easy it is to be deficient? The other thing is, what if you are taking all that? And you could be taking all that in, but if you have gallbladder problems, you have difficulty digesting fats and absorbing and assimilating fats, you're also going to have problems with omega-3 deficiency. So that one thing alone could be contributing to depression. But let's take another look. Antibiotic use. You could have had a sinus infection. It's been so rainy and moldy in the last several weeks. A lot of people have sinus infections. You could be using the antibiotic that's now killing off the sinus microbes that are causing problems, but also all of the other good gut microbes that kind of keep you in check. And once that changes, just the changing of the microbiome itself and the microbiota, basically the microbes that are in our entire body, especially in the digestive tract, they have a huge effect on our ability to produce B vitamins, which are really key for preventing depression. So just taking an antibiotic can throw us into a depressive state. Being pre-diabetic, having blood sugar management issues hugely contributes to depression. Having a vitamin D deficiency really can cause depression. So it is so easy to have a vitamin D deficiency. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where we live, you would need to be exposing about 40 to 60% of your body to sunlight for 20 to 40 minutes a day, every single day, to absorb the sunlight that would allow you to make your own vitamin D. And if you have even a little bit of melanin, you need way more exposure than that. Okay. So, Northern Hemisphere, melanin, being outside. If those things are not things you're regularly getting, or you have some of those things that might be hindering your ability to make vitamin D, you're at a deficit. And if you're not getting vitamin D in some of the foods that would be rich in it, or taking a supplement, you can easily see how depression can happen. And this is another reason we can see how in the winter months, when sunlight is lower, more people are prone to depression. But let's also take a look at low thyroid. You can have low thyroid function. There's a lot of research showing that a lot of women are being misdiagnosed as being depressed, and they're being put on antidepressants. But the real issue is they actually have low thyroid function. So instead, they're taking antidepressants, but really what they need is thyroid medication, and or they need to look at what's the root cause of the low thyroid. Is it an autoimmune condition? Do we need to change the diet there? Is it low thyroid because we don't have key minerals that convert thyroid hormone to the active form that does the work in the tissue and the cell? So we want to look at all those things. But what we don't want to do is just think and listen to those sound bites that come on television every day that say you got to get on every antidepressant out there. We want to use them. Thank God we have medications for sure. We want to use them. We want to use them when they can be helpful, especially if you're depressed and you can't move forward. But we also want to be looking at how can I improve? Because you really can improve. So this is one example. Depression is just one example. We have so many other things that we could use an example of. But let's flip over to the other side. Inflammation. If you have massive amounts of inflammation, it can drive and cause depression. It can drive and cause heart disease, drive and cause diabetes, drive and cause cancer, drive and cause arthritis. And for a lot of people, just getting the inflammation down can help to resolve all 5 of these conditions, if in fact you have that. So this is why we really want to look at these concepts. And this is the whole point of this group, is that every day we are doing one small little task that helps us alleviate and get to the bottom of our issues. All right, let's keep going. So now what I want to do is I want to go into the real key breakdown of why functional nutrition and integrative health and herbal medicine work. Okay, so what we do in functional nutrition is we really address the core physiological processes that affect the body's ability to function. So we really look at root causes. We look at how well your body's assimilating food. Are you digesting, breaking down the food, and then able to actually absorb the nutrients and turn them into something else? Do you have the key things needed to make digestion absorption work? Is your microbiome working? Is it underperforming? Are there not the right microbe mixtures? If all of those are issues, this is what we work on and we resolve, okay? In this group, we're going to be talking about all of these different things, and we're going to be talking about ways you can really work on that. If you want to work with me on ways to really dive into it, reach out to me for sure. We work with people on a regular basis on all of these issues. We look at how well you're defending and repairing your body and your tissue. So if there's massive amounts of inflammation, because maybe there are some low-grade infections that have never been cleaned up in the GI tract or wherever, that inflammation could be causing a lot of immune dysregulation. And that immune dysregulation is showing up as constant postnasal drip, constant sniffles, constant sensitivity to environmental things. So it's little things like that we'll work on. And there's wonderful ways to improve all of that. Getting the inflammation down, cleaning up the infections, regulating the immune system. We look at how well you are producing energy. This is so huge. Are you actually able to produce ATP? You guys remember from junior high school and high school science, the mitochondria of every cell, or the powerhouses of every cell, are the mitochondria. And it's the mitochondria that allows to make the ATP so that we actually have energy and we can do what we need to do. So there are key nutrients that the mitochondria need to be healthy. The mitochondria regulate whether the cell's going to live or die. So if we're not feeding the mitochondria things that it needs, guess what's going to happen? Exactly. So we work on all those things. We look at how well each person is biotransforming and eliminating waste and toxins. So basically removing toxins from the body, eliminating going to the bathroom. If you are chronically constipated, you already know your elimination and your biotransformation needs a lot of work. And this is really huge because for a lot of people that have hit those plateaus for weight loss, like they lose some weight, but they just can't get that last 20 pounds off, or they cannot go any further. Sometimes it's this biotransformation piece that's game changing. When we improve biotransformation and detoxification pathways, especially for the liver, we help to improve hormonal balance overall. And when hormonal balance is improved, it's a lot easier to get the weight and the body that we're really looking to, achieve. Then we look at how well each person is transporting. Basically, how well the cardiovascular and the lymphatic systems are working. You could be eating the best foods ever. Everything's organic, taking every supplement out there. But if you can't disperse those nutrients to every cell of the body and get things where they need to go, we're not going to get the results that we want to get. So we look at that. We work on improving circulation, the cardiovascular system, lymphatic systems, the whole nine. And then, of course, we look at communication. What are the hormones of the endocrine system doing, and the neurotransmitters doing, and the immune messengers? So we look at all that, because remember, it's the hormones and the neurotransmitters and these messengers. They tell every cell in the body what to do, when, and how. They make us work. So what we find a lot of times is, even if you have no chronic condition, but you just don't feel yourself, maybe you're having more brain fog, difficulty remembering things, just all sorts of issues. Sometimes just improving the endocrine hormones, the neurotransmitters, is game changing. Another big piece is, if there are deficiencies of key nutrients, it's going to be difficult to even make your endocrine hormones and neurotransmitters. So do you have the nutrients needed to make all of those? We go into all of that. And then, of course, we look at your structural integrity. So we look at literally the subcellular membranes, because if you can imagine, every cell has a membrane that is basically the regulator of what comes in and out of the cell. And it's made up of these essential fatty acids and these phospholipids. And if you have a deficiency in either one of those, we could fix every bullet point we just talked about. But at that subcellular membrane level, if there are deficiencies and it's not working well, we may still not get all of the wonderful things that can come in the healing that we're looking for. So we really go that deep. And it is really amazing when you go that deep, how many improvements you can get. And I'm not joking. You can get improvements in 2 weeks. You get people improving 3 weeks. You get people's kidney function reversing and improving in 3 months. Okay. Like, by taking this approach. So if you have been told, or you thought you could never reverse or put into remission conditions that you've had, you can. And that's what this group is all about. So spread the word, stay tuned, ask the questions. We're just going to go deep together. Okay. All right. So now this is a beautiful diagram that Biogenetics created. I love their, they have a lot of different trainings if you ever want to go on their website, and they have some good products as well. But I love this diagram that they have, and I love it so much. This is their logo at the bottom, that I use this diagram in training, because what we're going to do in the course of, working in this functional nutrition space is, we're always going to be looking for a root and fruit. These roots issues at the bottom, they tend to cause chronic inflammation that then changes the way DNA is expressed. And when DNA is not expressed the way we need it to be expressed, this is how we get the fruits of diseases. So all of these things you see at the top, migraines, neuropathy, psoriasis, fatigue, hypertension, IBS, obesity, Hashimoto's, kidney disease, you name it, diabetes, hypertension, cognitive decline, really looking at what's at the root of this tree. If you are doing things like fast food, drugs, plastics, gluten, synthetic sweeteners, GMOs, pesticide preservatives, herbicides, lectins, refined sugars, heavy metals, alcohol, fungus, recreational drugs, mechanical stress, overexercising, emotional stress, not taking time for self and relaxing, mold, this can all contribute to chronic inflammation, changing DNA, causing these issues. So I want you to keep that in mind. And these are key concepts, okay? And we work through all of these in a personalized way for you. Now, as I mentioned, on the Wellness Wednesday, we're going to focus on gut healing and gut function, just GI functioning, because that's really what everybody's been reaching out. I put it out there, DM me, I put it out there, put any questions that you have about health and wellness, so that we know where to start. And what has come back as the winner so far is gut health. So that's what we're going to focus. But just understand the basics is, gut health is a major source of healing. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the microbiome, That's really important. We'll go in more in detail, but the more you can improve your gut health, the better, because the microbiome, these are the microbes that are all throughout our digestive tract, but they help us break down our foods, produce our nutrients, protect against pathogens. They support a healthy immune system. They support detoxification. They actually act as a second liver. That's how much detoxification support they provide. They actually allow us and produce multiple B vitamins for us. So it is a major, major important thing. We'll talk about how to build it up, how to really improve it. We work with a lot of clients on doing just that, creating a personalized plan that really works for them. They also help to modulate the nervous system. Think about that. 95% of the serotonin, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter that helps us feel joyous, is made in our guts. So if our gut is not functioning well and we have depression or anxiety and things like that, one of the biggest places to start cleaning up or getting improvements is, well, let me see what I can do with my gut. Okay. We want to look at any microbiome imbalances and dysbiosis. This is a huge one. So there's lots of different ways that you can have malabsorption and maldigestion. There are environmental triggers. If you eat a lot of foods that have lots of pesticides and chemicals on them, they kill off the good gut microbes. That's huge. And we'll talk about ways that you can improve on that. If you have dysbiosis for like the good gut microbes, instead you have more of the not so great ones, the pathogenic ones that produce these different compounds that we call like LPS, lipopolysaccharides, that cause more inflammation, all kind of crazy stuff. If you have more overgrowth of that, you're going to have that dysbiosis, or basically just the microbiome's not going to be performing optimally. There are lots of tests that we can do to let you know what's going on in your gut. These are functional tests that we do. So reach out to me if you're curious and you want to get that done. We also have a program that's coming out. It's called our Foundations Program. It's really comprehensive. But in the meantime, we do one-on-ones. So if you do want to find out about your gut and things like that, reach out to us. But essentially, I really just want you to get these concepts down. We want to look at insufficiency of bile acids, enzymes, hydrochloric acid. We do a clinical assessment that goes through to see, based on your symptoms, you need stomach acid, you need digestive enzymes, you need bile support. We can actually see that just through our clinical assessment. And then we can also, if you have labs that you've had done with your doctor, your primary care, you can come and work with us and we'll do an optimal lab review, get some eyes on it, and let you know we can get a lot of traction just from those. So you don't even have to do new labs, or as long as you have your annual labs and they're fairly recently done. But again, we do some functional labs around checking to see what's going on in the microbiome. We also want to look at stress and how cortisol plays a role in beneficial bacteria. So all of those things, we're going to be talking about all these things throughout this whole group. So stay tuned for sure. A healthy versus an unhealthy microbiome. This is a picture that I love, because if you just take a quick look here on the left side, this is a healthy microbiome, and look at the input for a healthy microbiome. This is a key clinical jewel. Write this down. This is a key clinical jewel. The things that grow a healthy microbiome are a high fiber diet. And I don't mean just taking fiber. I mean, eating foods that just have lots of fiber in them. All of your vegetables, some whole grains that you tolerate, fruits, the whole nine, beans. We want to get all that in. What happens is those good gut microbes, they feed on that fiber, and then they grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And if you can imagine, look at this gut lining. I want you to just imagine this little like yellow line and this microvilli of these little blue things, and that gut lining. If you have this gut lining, look how it's beautifully sealed up. There are no breaches. And then on top of it, you got layers and layers of good, healthy microbes. Guess what? When there is going to be a breach or something, you got to go through all these layers of microbes to even get a breach. So you're already protected. That's huge. When we look at B on the other side, when we have a dysbiotic microbiome, I want you to look, there's the blue microvilli, there's the gut lining. You see how there's a breach, it's already decreased. And part of the breach is because it just doesn't have all of these healthy, good gut microbes. But let's take a look at what feeds a dysbiotic microbiome. Basically, a microbiome that's producing what we don't want it to produce, different lipopolysaccharides and inflammatory things. So a high fat, low fiber diet. So, you see a pizza here, burger here. And all of these things really drive this dysbiotic environment. And it is amazing how you can clean this up. You can clean it up pretty quickly. You can, if you're not too far gone, I mean, in 2 weeks of eating a high fiber meal plan, you can see major changes. I've worked with patients that I thought we were going to have to do whole big antimicrobial cleanses, do all these different supplements, but nope, we just laid the main foundations down and we never even had to go there. I've worked with people where we did have to use lots of antimicrobials and different things like that. So it just depends. But my point is, you can see big changes quickly, just making little small changes with high fiber eating. Okay, and start small. If you're someone that's like, oh, when you think about eating lots of high fiber veggies and you're like, oh my gosh, I mean, own it and be real about it. Because if that's really what it is, we want to be real about it. But we want to look at, well, what do you like? Find one thing you do like and just start incorporating it. And then the things that you don't necessarily like, start thinking about, well, why don't I like it? Is it because when my mom used to cook it, you didn't like the way that they cooked it because maybe you didn't like the canned or the frozen version. Maybe you love a fresh version. Maybe you didn't like a boiled version, but you love a roasted version. I mean, you have no clue. You got to try all different types of things. And we're going to play around with all those different things because a roasted veggie and a slow stewed veggie versus a boiled versus a steamed versus a raw, totally different. And so what we're going to do is find the ones that you like that work for you and just add them in day by day, starting small. All right. So now let's just take a quick look at what impairs digestion and absorption. And we're going to go deeper into this on Wednesday for our Wellness Wednesday, but I do want to get you started and ready. We'll do another review of this on Wednesday. The first thing is first, not chewing thoroughly. Really basic, guys. Really basic. I've had people, all we did was start adding 10 more chews with each meal. Made a world of difference. Low stomach acid, or what we call hypochlorhydria, just low stomach, don't have enough stomach acid. And remember, as we get older, our stomach acid declines. It really doesn't decline super a lot until you're about in your 60s, but it does start declining in your 40s and 50s. So, keep that in mind. We have clinical assessments that we can just check and see and let you know, yes, it's low. We can look at your optimal lab review and let you know based on some numbers that come back, I think you have some hypochlorhydria. And then it's just symptoms. Pancreatic insufficiency. If you don't make enough pancreatic enzymes to break foods down. And this can be an ongoing loop because if you don't have enough enzymes to break your food down and assimilate your foods, you need to assimilate key nutrients to make the enzymes in the first place. So sometimes we need to use a Band-Aid temporarily, an oral digestive enzyme, to get that process going. If you have bile insufficiency, if your liver is not producing bile, if you are producing bile, but the bile ducts are not doing right. If you're producing bile, but it's not functional because it's really thick and gloopy because we're not eating certain foods that make it beautiful and smooth and functional. So little things like that. Anyone who's ever done the 30-day liver gallbladder detox with me or the 7-day detox, you all know, and you know how fantastic you feel afterwards. And you know how well your family said you were looking when you were doing it, right? So let's get on that. We'll be doing little bits of that through the group. If you've had any brush border injury, so remember those little microvilli that you saw in blue? If those are messed up and broken down and having problems, because maybe you keep eating foods that you're sensitive to, or, we'll talk about that, that'll cause a problem. And then, of course, increased barrier permeability. And that's what we saw in that other picture. We want the lining of the GI tract to be nice and intact. If we have any breaches and breakdowns and little holes and things like that, for various reasons that we keep going over. But stress is one of them. The more stressed we are, typically, the more the lining starts to be more permeable. Okay, so keep that in mind. Every time you take 5 to 15 minutes in your day for yourself to de-stress, you are healing and helping increase your barrier function and your digestion. So take it. You deserve it. What else are we on the planet for? What else were we put on the planet to do except to breathe clean air, drink clean water, and eat clean plants that were put on the planet, right? I mean, for real, that's really what we were put on the planet to do. And so when we just take a step back and we figure out ways to do that more often and in more of those basic ways, the healing tends to return. So keep that in mind. We're going to go through more of these. I'm not going to go over all this in detail now because this is a little bit deeper level. We probably maybe do this later. But essentially, we won't go over this either, this diagram. So I think we've come to the end of part A, and I do so appreciate you taking all this beautiful time with me and really listening in and really understanding. It's really important that we take control of our own health, that we are the bearers of our health and wellness, that we call the healing to us, because we're all magical people. This is a magical planet, and it's fun being magical. It's very fun being magical and pulling the healing to your body. Okay, we're going to keep working on that. We're going to look at different ways that we can manifest more motivation. We're going to look at ways that we can just manifest more healing. And we're going to look at real tangible things like, I got to get in that kitchen and make this meal because it's going to help me. Okay. But at the end of the day, we want to make it fun, light, easy. And if you have to fake it till you make it, do it. If right now you're like not all the way in, it's okay. There was a time in my life when I was a hot Cheeto eater on a regular basis. Okay. Hot Cheetos. And now if I even look at those, I'm like, oh my gosh, please get those for me. We all ebb and flow. There's no horrible way, it's just where we are. We're just all working together on this planet together. And that's what this group is for, to provide that support. So check out Wellness Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're going to be much more deeper dive into gut health, GI, some things that can support. Okay. But this is a great way for you to get started, and share this with any of your friends and family who you think will benefit from the information. Reach out to me if you have any questions. We do see patients at B&H Wellness. So, check us out. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.